The Tale of the Three Brothers. There were once three brothers who were traveling along a lonely, winding road at twilight. In time, the brothers reached a river, too deep to wade through, and too dangerous to swim across. However, these brothers were learned in the magical arts, and so they simply waved their wands and made a bridge appear across the treacherous water. They were halfway across it when they found their path blocked by a hooded figure, and it was dead. He was angry that he had been cheated out of three new victims. Four travelers usually drowned in the river, but that was cunning. He pretended to congratulate the three brothers upon their magic, and said that each had earned a prize for being clever enough to evade him. So, the oldest brother, who was a combative man, asked for a wand more powerful than any in existence, a wand that must always win battles for its owner, a wand worthy of a wizard who had conquered death. So, Dad has across to an elder tree on the banks of the river, fashioned a wand from a branch that had hung there, and gave it to the oldest brother. Then the second brother, who was an arrogant man, decided that he wanted to humiliate Dad still further, and asked for the power to recall others from death. So, Dad picked up a stone from the river bank and gave it to the second brother, and told him that the stone would have the power to bring back the dead. Finally, Dad turned to the third brother. A humble man, he asked for something that would enable him to go forth from that place without being followed by death. And so it was that Death reluctantly handed over his own cloak of invisibility. In due course, the brothers separate, each for his own destination. The first brother traveled for a week or more, and reaching a distant village, sought out a fellow wizard with whom he had a quarrel. Naturally, with the elder one as his weapon, he could not fail to win the duel that followed, leaving his enemy dead upon the floor. The oldest brother proceeded to an inn, where he boasted of the powerful wand which he had snatched from Death himself, and of how it made him invincible. That very night, another wizard crept upon the oldest brother as he lay wine sodden upon his bed. Then Chip took the wand, and for good measure slit the oldest brother's throat, and so Death took the first brother for his own. Meanwhile, the second brother journeyed to his own home, where he lived alone. Here, he took out the stone which had the power to recall the dead, and turned it thrice in his hand. To his amazement and delight, the figure of the girl he had once hoped to marry before her untimely death appeared at once before him. Yet she was sad and cold, separate from his as taught by a veil. Thought she had returned to the mortal world. She did not truly belong free, and suffered. Finally, the second brother, driven mad by hopeless longing, killed himself so as to truly join her, and so Death took the second brother for his own. But though Death searched for the third brother for many years, he was never able to find him. It was only when he had attained a great age that the youngest brother finally took off the cloak of invisibility and gave it to his son, and then he greeted Death as an old friend, went with him gladly, and as equals, they separate this life. Ikaw naman. Go.
The Tale of the Three Brothers. There were three brothers who were traveling along a lonely, winding road at twilight. In time, the two rose to swim across. However, these brothers were learned in the magical arts, and so they simply waved their wands and made a bride appear across the treacherous water. They were halfway across it when they found their path blocked by a hard figure, and it was that he was angry that he had been raged out of three new victims for travels usually drowned in the river. But it was cunning. He pretended to congratulate the three brothers upon their magic and said that each had earned a prize for being clever to help him. So the eldest brother, who was a combative man, asked for a wand more powerful than any in existence, a wand that must always battles for its owner, a wand worthy for a wizard who had conquered it, sowed it, and had crossed to an elder tree on the banks of the river, fashioned a wand from a branch that had hung tree, and gave it to the eldest brother. Then the second brother, who was a round man, deceived the he wanted to humiliate that still father and asked for the power to recall others from death. So they picked up a stone from the river bank and gave it to the second brother and told him that the stone would have the power bring back the dead. Finally, they turned to the third brother, a humble man. He asked for something that would enable him to go forth from that place without being followed by dread. And so it was that dread reluctantly handed over his own cloak of invisibility. Is due course the brothers paid each for his own decision. The first brother traveled for a week or more, and reaching a distant village sought out a fellow wizard with whom he had a quarrel. Naturally, with the elder one has his weapon, he could not fail to win the duel that followed, leaving his enemy dead upon the floor. The oldest brother proceeded to an inn where he boasted of the powerful wand which he had stanched from death himself, and of how it made him invisible. That very night another wizard crept upon the eldest brother as he lay wide sodden upon his bed. The thief took and one and for good measure slit the oldest brother's throat, and so he took the first brother for his own. Meanwhile, the second brother journeyed to his own home where he lived alone. Here he took out the stone which had the power to resolve the deed and turn in trees in his hand. To his amazement and delight, the figure of the girl he had once hoped to marry before her ultimately did appear and once before him. Yet she was sad and cold, sprayed from him as tongue by a veil tongue. She had returned to the mortal world. She did not truly belong to and soft. Finally, the second brother, driven mad by hopeless longing, killed himself so as to truly join her, and so Drit took the second brother for his own. But down did search for the third brother for many years. He was never able to find him. It was only when he had attained a great age that the youngest brother finally took off the cloak of invisibility and gave it to his son. And then he greeted it as an old friend went with him gladly, and as equals they depart this life.